As exciting as the prospect of a fresh new IP can be, there's also an undeniable appeal to a new installment in an existing franchise that confidently builds on past foundations to deliver a denser and more deftly balanced experience. And thankfully, 2024 is delivering in that area. Halfway through the year, we've already played quite a few outstanding sequels. While there's plenty more still left to look forward to in the months ahead as well, here we're going to talk about notable sequels of 2024 in both groups, some that have released and made their mark, and others that are yet to come but are generating no small amount of excitement. Assassin's Creed Shadows. 4 years after the series' last big mainline entry, Assassin's Creed Shadows is set to finally deliver the feudal Japan Assassin's Creed game we've all been desperately waiting for so long. And we couldn't be more excited. With 2 fascinating protagonists, what's looking like a gorgeously crafted map, promising improvements with everything from stealth and parkour to combat and more, and the inherent strength of its setting, Assassin's Creed Shadows is shaping up to be an exciting release.
I've shed all the blood I need. Time to go.
Dragon Age: The Veilguard. We've been waiting for the follow-up to Dragon Age Inquisition for literally a decade at this point, and it's finally almost upon us. Dragon Age: The Veilguard is due out this fall, and BioWare is making all the right promises. Whether that's a renewed emphasis on choice and consequence mechanics, the improvements that are being made to the combat and the moment-to-moment action, or of course the fact that BioWare is describing this new core cast as the best group of characters the studio has ever worked on. Given BioWare's pedigree, it's hard not to be excited about a game making all of these lofty promises. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Pretty much no one expected another new mainline game for the Nintendo Switch this late in the console's lifecycle, yet here we are. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom is set to deliver another traditional top-down adventure, something that many thought we wouldn't see for a long time, while also finally letting Princess Zelda shine as the main playable protagonist, something that many thought we wouldn't ever see. With a fascinating new core gameplay hook on top of that, Echoes of Wisdom is looking like quite an enticing prospect. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. The original Space Marine is the classic example of a cult classic, and its many fans will finally be getting the sequel they have been hoping for so long this September. Saber and Focus Entertainment's third-person shooter is looking quite promising, not only because of its brutal and adrenaline-fueled action, but also the healthy quantity of content the game is promising across several modes, be it solo, co-op, or PvP. Whether Space Marine 2 can one-up its predecessor remains to be seen, but there's reason to be optimistic, that's for sure. SteamWorld Heist 2. We've seen the SteamWorld franchise take all sorts of different forms over the years, but it's fair to say that the original SteamWorld Heist ranks as one of its best offerings to date. Its sequel, SteamWorld Heist 2, is due out imminently, and sure enough, critics have proclaimed it another win for the series. A great new pirate setting, excellent turn-based tactic battles, and an in-depth job system, real-time naval combat, and more come together in a satisfying sequel that fans of tactic titles shouldn't miss. Tekken VIII. Let's rewind to the beginning of this year to speak about one of the most significant sequels we've seen so far in 2024. Tekken VIII arrived several years after its predecessor and was well worth the wait, delivering not only some of the best and most crunching action the series has ever had, but also a hefty amount of content to keep players occupied consistently. Sure, the game has attracted some controversy with its post-launch monetization practices, but there's no doubting that Tekken VIII still stands as one of the best fighting games in recent years. Stalker II: Heart of Chernobyl. Yet another game that we've been waiting for what seems like forever, but thankfully every time we do see more of Stalker 2, we can't help but feel sharp tinges of excitement. The open-world, first-person shooter's promise of a vast, dangerous, and gorgeously rendered world is one with high ambitions, to say the very least. But if what has been shown of the game so far is any indication, Stalker II seems on track to make good on its lofty promises. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Many might argue that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is still the best game of 2024 so far, and there's a lot of merit to those arguments. The open-world action RPG is nothing short of a magical experience. Not only is it staggeringly massive, it also manages to match that size with incredible variety in content and surprising mastery in design, delivering a sort of gameplay narrative and cinematic experience that comes along very rarely. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Yakuza 7 took a huge risk when it switched to an all-new turn-based RPG formula, but the risk paid off in spades, and earlier this year, the series hit yet another home run building on that formula with Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, combining an excellent new setting that constantly remains a joy to explore, an endless ocean of excellently designed optional content that never stops surprising and delighting with its variety and quality, and of course a gripping story with an endearing cast of characters. Infinite Wealth easily stands as one of 2024's most unforgettable games so far. Senua Saga Hellblade 2.
Can't you hear them, Senua? Can't you hear their screams?
I can hear them. What's happening?
You know that's your focus.
Did Senua Saga Hellblade 2 blow up the way that so many had hoped it would? Well, it's safe to say that it didn't. The game has attracted criticism from some for not building on its predecessor as much as it could have, while some have even said that it outright feels like a step back from the first game. For our money, while there's no doubt that the game could and should have been more ambitious, we were still impressed with what was on offer.
Remember what they did to you. How your village burned.
Narratively, cinematically, and most of all technically, in terms of both audio and visuals, Hellblade 2 was an impressive, if a bit too brief, experience. Batman Arkham Shadow. A VR-exclusive game might not be the Batman Arkham follow-up that people want right now, especially in the disastrous aftermath of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, but there is reason to be at least cautiously optimistic about the game. For starters, the premise of an Arkham prequel telling an entirely new story in a single-player experience is an exciting prospect, especially if the game can leverage the uniqueness of VR hardware, which Meta's first-party titles often tend to do. There's also the fact that this is being developed by Camouflage of Marvel's Iron Man VR fame, a studio that has a proven track record not only with superhero titles but also with VR games. Hopefully, we'll be seeing actual gameplay footage soon, and hopefully, it'll actually look good. Planet Coaster 2. Management sims might not be the most lucrative genre out there, but thankfully, we continue to get major releases in it every so often. A lot of that is thanks to the efforts of Frontier Development, which is set to return with Planet Coaster 2 later this year. The original Planet Coaster was, of course, a dream game for fans of the old Roller Coaster Tycoon games, and others like them. And its sequel is looking like a suitably impressive follow-up, not least because of its addition of water parks. The Wolf Among Us 2. How long have we been waiting for The Wolf Among Us 2? Well, it's been too long, and there are no guarantees that the wait will definitely end this year. Officially, The Wolf Among Us 2 is scheduled for release sometime in 2024, but with multiple reports of behind-the-scenes issues at Telltale Games in recent months, including mass layoffs, one has to wonder whether the game is on track. Telltale recently showcased a couple of new screenshots, but that's the extent of what we've seen for the game of late. And that's a little worrying. Frostpunk 2. The original Frostpunk has built up a reputation as one of the best games of its kind in the years since its release, and developer 11-Bit Studios is set to up the ante later this year with Frostpunk 2. Be prepared for an intricate and dense web of gameplay mechanics, a string of heart-wrenching and genuinely difficult choices, and their subsequent hard-hitting consequences. Unforgettably foreboding atmosphere thanks to an excellent post-apocalyptic setting, and more when Frostpunk 2 launches this September. Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma 2 was yet another open-world action RPG that certainly divided opinion to some extent upon its release earlier in the year. It also has a multitude of undeniable merits. It's rare to see a game that sticks to its vision as uncompromisingly as Dragon's Dogma 2 does, and while that certainly can turn some players away, it's exactly that eccentric nature that makes it such an unforgettable experience for many of its fans. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.